Renting. This show is in partnership with Life Ministry Uganda. You can always check them out on their website, social media platforms, and they'll be glad and very happy to hear from you. Well, today we have a very great topic. I know children are on holiday and they came back home with their report cards. And today we are actually here to share more about understanding your child's academic report card. I know it is timely and it's also very exciting. Our guest this evening is Mr. Caleb Tugume Matsiko. And ladies and gentlemen out there, why don't you join me? Welcome him on board. Today is very unique and very different. We are very happy to have you on the show, Caleb. You're welcome.
Oh, thank you, Claire. Very delighted to be with you and to be able to join you and all the viewers tonight.
Wow. Will you please say hello to the viewers and then we start our show?
A very good evening, everyone. Praise the Lord. You are most welcome to this show tonight. I'm delighted to be here with us. Tugume Caleb Masiko is my name. I'm very delighted to be here with us and Claire talking about such a meaningful topic. Very glad that children are back from schools and it is a holiday time. I believe those under your tutorage are back from whichever school they've been in. So we are very thankful that the children at school. You know, Claire, the children are children. Those that are doing what we may call the local call it national curriculum, they spend about 9 months at school out of the 12 months in a year.
That means they spend much time at school.
They spend much time at school, and that is about 75% of the time that in a whole year they spend it at school, and you only have 3 months with them.
Oh.
And even for those 3 months, if they are if they're in candidate classes, and they have to go back for holiday coaching and things like that. Dear parents, do you realize you spend with your children less than 3 months in a year out of 12? Because the 9 are at school, for 9 months they're at school, and the remaining 3 months, that's what they have for holidays for the 3 terms. But even for those 3 months that they have for holidays, there are those that go back for coaching, there are those that you have traveled away and you're not with them. So literally out of 12 months, you have such a short time with your children. I'm not even if those 3 months of holidays, I'm not counting the time that you have traveled, wherever you have traveled, you've gone for parties, for weddings, and for conferences, maybe away from your family for retreats 1 week or so. So you find that you have far much less time with your children. But we are thankful that they are back to us after school.
But now actually that leaves me with quite a number of questions. Usually we say as parents we have to have all the time with the children. But even when they are on holiday, we are doing different things. We are at work and everything. So really, I don't know, what should parents do? I mean, in a year you might find you're spending even a month or even totally nothing with your children. So what should we do as parents?
One, I will mention intentionality. I personally, and a few other couples that we fellowship within our home builders fellowship, we have agreed that if we have that time over the weekend and we are going for fellowship, let's come with our children as the parents sit, also depending on the age definitely, because most of us are in the same age group. We have children in primary school and all that. They're in the same age group, more or less in the same age group, so they can easily relate. We need to intentionally find time for our children. If you're going out for fellowships and where you're going, it is in a family setting, and they are able to relate with the children in the fellowship, for the family where you're going, go with them. You're traveling to the village for Christmas, you're going to visit your parents, you're going to visit their grandparents, you're going to visit their relatives. Leave alone some events where they are saying the children are loved but not invited. But whenever that you can, find that time too. If it is a time that you're on leave, my wife and I will intentionally schedule our leave periods for holidays, so that we have a considerable amount of time with them. So intentionality is something that we must do it. But also another thing is that I have also known of parents who have changed maybe schools, and they have decided to take their children to schools where they are able to meet them, and maximizing days like academic days, maximizing days like visiting days, so that even when they are at school for those 3 months, you intentionally create time to go and visit with them, and especially the fathers. Fathers, it's us who have all these other excuses. I am away, I'm working, I'm attending a party or something. Even on a visiting day, I intentionally go for visiting day with my wife.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yes, we do, because we realize this has been maybe 1, 2, or 3 months they've been away. There are those, our biological children, and those that we yes, please. So we intentionally go and visit them. If there's that window of a visitation period for academic day, make use of that time. Now that you know that we have very limited time with them, make use of that time and be there. Go visit them.
Wow. Okay. This is actually very interesting, and I like where it is actually taking us now. As parents, we have values that we instill in our children that we hold so dear. And now a child actually spends all those months at school being influenced by quite a number of things.
We call them secondary parents.
Exactly. So now I'm wondering, how can our children really, even amidst that environment, still hold dear the values that we instill in them?
Thank you. You see, the values, I love it that there are some families that have values, things they hold in common. We know that prayer is important here. We know that giving is important. Greeting people is important. Integrity. You do not cheat. You do not steal mommy's money or daddy's money. I love families that have such values. The things that they treasure and they hold so central in the bloodline of a family. And it is so critical to have them. How do we maintain them? One, also depending on the type of a school environment that you take them to. You see, Claire, you do not take your child to a school because it is just near you, or because it is where your neighbor takes their child. Is it an environment that favors, holistic development? Is it an environment that values what you value? Is it a school that values prayer? Is it a school that intentionally emphasizes integrity? Is it a school that intentionally emphasizes love and care? I'm sure you have heard of schools and people say, are you seeing that schools, kids in that school are behaved in a given way. School culture, we call it school culture. Some of us growing up, you would go to some of those schools and you know that this school and the other school, they are ever fighting. They do not see eye to eye.
I know.
And this school and the other school, that is like their sister school. Okay? So those are some of the facts of the factors that you should consider. Take your children to a school that values what you value. Have a personal relationship with their teachers. Get to know them. Do they value what we value? If they value what you value, Claire, they will help your children to uphold those values. Okay? In that environment, they'll be helped. But also when they come back, intentionally sit down with them, ask them, how was school? Do you still pray? I gave you a Bible. Are you making use of it? Tell me about your integrity. Did you contest in the elections for prefects? So how did you win the votes? Was it just by lying around, or by that you'll be able to measure they have stood by their value of integrity. And if they have not, you'll be able also to understand. They went around bribing everyone. They went around doing A, B, C, and Z, convincing their colleagues how they were going to build an airport in a secondary school.
I know.
So how do we sustain values? Take the children to schools that have the values that you do. Have a personal touch with their teachers, the teachers of your children. I should have a personal touch with the teachers of my children, and let them know exactly what are my expectations. Make use of the available days when you can be able to interact with your children. Visiting days, academic days, get to know if they are in their school. Every time you get an opportunity, get to find out. You see, in this home we value prayer.
Exactly.
So at school, did you have any prayer all through the course of this week? Then they'll be like, yes, on assembly we did. If they are students, if they are children in institutions of higher learning, you'll also be able to see their faith, whether they will walk your way of faith, or whether they will walk another to another faith. You know, we've had all these amongst children. You are Christian, and a child comes back from school, or especially institutions of higher learning, comes back at the end of the academic year, and they tell you, by the way, daddy or mommy, I have changed into another faith. I am no longer going with you in this faith. I have changed into another faith. And okay, so have that time and let the children know, why do we value integrity? Let them know why you hold dear the values that you do. Okay, so it will be of value to them.
Wow, thank you very much, and I actually appreciate that, and I love it. The importance of us parents explaining to the children. If we say here we hold dear prayer, why? What does prayer do? Why should I value prayer?
Why should I pray?
And I actually like that many of the times parents, we tend to force things on our children. Do this, do that, do this.
You see, Claire, there is an age where you can force. If it is a toddler, you're talking about 0 up to 6, 7, there you can. But if you're into teenage, and these are kids that are going to secondary school and children in, young adults in tertiary institutions, there's a point beyond which you cannot force a child to pray. There's a point beyond which you will not force them to do certain things. But if you have explained to them, if this value has been embedded into them, they will appreciate it a lot much more than you forcing it to them. And I think times have changed. Claire, me and you might have grown up in an environment where a caregiver or a parent or a guardian said, you are doing X, Y, Z, and you better have it done. And you would know the repercussions of not doing it. But nowadays, you tell a 9-year-old
they will ask you questions. Actually, things have changed. And
some of them, they are asking not because they are rebellious, but they're asking because some of them, they genuinely want to know. They are desirous, they are hungry for facts and information. So the area that I sit down my teenage son and I let them know why they ought to do certain things the way they do them, the better for them. They will benefit from it, but they will also benefit from it. Okay.
Yeah, and actually, I really, really appreciate that. And really, it's so exciting how us parents, maybe every parent out there who was raised and born in a different, time and where things were, your parents tell you do this, but now you're raising kids or children who are in a totally different time.
I'm telling you.
You get it. Those days, your mother would just give you an eye and this is a problem.
Hey, there are visitors.
And it's just there are visitors
and
around.
Mom gives you this eye,
Yes, and there is a problem here. And then you shift from what you are doing. But now you give them an eye and they will ask you, why are you eyeing me like that? So I don't know how we can actually whether there is a way we can strike a balance or how we can actually adjust to what is happening now, which is actually not easy.
No, I think, Claire, it is our roles as parents. All these things that we are saying, they are not easy. Ourselves have to be rooted first. For instance, you're talking about values. Upholding values is not easy, true. Who said it was supposed to be easy? But do we value them that much that they are dear to us? If I value sexual purity, does my teenage daughter realize from the way I relate with my wife that I indeed value sexual purity? Or it is something that I'm telling them, or it is something that is written
on your wall.
On the wall. Our family values purity, integrity, okay, and commitment and loving one another. If I am living out what I am explaining to my children, they will be able to learn from me. Monkey see,
monkey do.
Monkey do. These children will be able to tell that I hold so dear these values that I'm telling them. They will realize that I hold so dear sexual purity. They will realize that I hold so dear faithfulness to their mother. They realize, because I'm moving with them in the vehicle, maybe I'm taking them to school, or it is the mother they are going with to school. They realize how she speaks to people. So respect a core value of respecting others is not just written on the wall, but they will see, how does mommy greet the gatekeeper? How did mommy greet my teacher in class? How did daddy respond to that taxi driver?
Exactly.
Okay. How did daddy respond to the maid? How did mommy respond to a house executive after finding that, sauce was burnt? So the way we can do it is living out these values ourselves as parents, not just telling them, but living them out and showing them the way. They'll be able to relate my explanation. They'll be able to relate this that I'm that I'm asking them to do with what I am already doing. They'll be like, oh, yeah, I think it is doable. I think it is practical. And they'll be interested. So as parents, you must have those values, but you must also live them out. We must live them out.
Wow.
So that they learn from what we are telling them, instructing them to do, but they also learn from what we are doing, walking the talk.
Wow, thank you, Caleb, and I really appreciate you for all that. I believe every parent out there is blessed by what we are actually sharing here. And now, let's go a little bit into the topic that we have this evening.
Please.
Well, I understand you now the holiday are here. Did your children come back to school? Come back home? How were their report cards? How was the experience? Or they're still at school?
No, they've come back home. They've come back home. We are very thankful. They came back home. They brought their report cards. Very excited. Promoted to the next classes. Yes, there was even one who was from a class to another and kept very excited. Hey, this is my report card. And the only thing he realized there is promoted. I've been promoted to another class. The excitement. We are definitely joyous, Taking a child to school and they excel, is something that we also thank God for. So they came back, they brought their reports. We are very excited. We are very happy about it.
Wow, thank you. And also I'm actually now thinking, do these report cards determine who our children are?
You see, Claire, a report card is a summary of a child's progress. A report card is that document that the child has brought from school showing his teachers or her teachers have assessed him, he did exams, and he scored grade A in subject B, he scored grade X in subject Y, he scored grade, marks, subjects and grades. That's what most people look at. So it is a summary of what a child has learned. But to me, I think it does not really show exactly what a child is, especially in our assessment in Uganda. I have participated in assessment of students at different levels, secondary school, tertiary institutions. And the assessment tends to be so much limited to the scores and the marks. But there are lots of things that happen that determine what you see on the report card.
I like that.
You are seeing, let's say, a 70 against math. You're seeing an 80 against English. You're seeing a D1 against agriculture. You're seeing an F9 against physics. But that score is not just a result of a child sitting an exam. The assessment even starts from home, Claire. Let me give you a simple illustration. And this is why I think assessment does not really fully describe who a child is. To some extent it does. A child's attention at school starts at home. I think performance is birthed at home, nurtured on the way, and exhibited in the results. A primary school child wakes up very early in the morning, and it is 4:30 a.m. and has got to prepare and shower and do all those things and get things to go to school. And because of the tension and the stress of the early morning, maybe it is the house executive waking them up. You people wake up, you're so late, time is up, the van is almost coming, or whoever that is taking you, you're delaying them. So a child gets up in this kind of a mood of tensed mode. He's not seeing their shoes or their stockings or their whatever, and it is there in that kind of confusion. Okay, gets to the van, and the van man is like, van driver is like, you people, you're late. I've been here at the gate waiting for so long. Or the borderman, whoever that takes your children to school, or if they are walking and it is a distance and they're already exhausted. Especially in town settings, I've seen this. A child gets in the van and rotates for about 15 kilometers.
Wow.
And the child gets at school at 6:30, very worn out and exhausted for that day. We are talking about the report card. Goes to school, enters the classroom, and the teacher is already teaching. This child is already disadvantaged in grasping that concept. That is the concept that is going to come in the final exam. And you get the report card, you're looking at a 70 in chemistry, you're like, but you should have scored slightly higher than this. You have forgotten that at the time these concepts were taught, it is that day that this child came to school exhausted at 7:30 a.m. We have got children that come from families that have suffered from domestic violence. There was noise and fighting all over the house all through the night. And in the morning, this child goes to class and the teacher is teaching. The teacher is writing things on the blackboard, but in the mind of the child is remembering the noise, is seeing the saucepan that was frying over the mother. These are the concepts that are asked in class, in the exam room.
Wow.
So the concentration of this child, which was determined from what happened at home, is already, at risk. So it is important that when you're looking at the report card, look at the marks, but also look at the factors that could have led to that score. There's some girls that are taken to schools by border men, and you and me know, not only border men, okay, let me say by some men, and have been sexually harassed. And like all through that time, and they have told this girl, if I ever hear your mother or your father talking about this or questioning me, they will give you to me to ride you to school, and I will intentionally cause an accident and you will die therein. So out of that kind of fear, so this child goes to school all through that term, and there's this fear building up in their hearts. And Claire, because you're working on family TV, you wake up so early, you comb your hair, you do your suit, and you go to office, not minding what is happening. But this determines the child's performance. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. There's a time I came to know of a parent where our children were going to the same school, and this child comes back home one day and he complains the following day that he didn't want to go to school. It's like, so why don't you want to go back to school? It's like, you see, yesterday when it rained and I went in shoes, I went straight away to the washrooms, and the cleaner who was there, scolded me. It was like, you're coming here with your mud, with your bisoto, don't you see that I have already cleaned? Scolded by a cleaner. And this child is like, I feared even facing that lady again.
Wow.
So how do you think that child's concentration was on that day?
Terrible. And
the aspects that were taught that day are going to be asked in the examination room. So you will just receive the report card. But you fool, why do you fail simple things in agriculture? You do not know what happened that Monday morning when this child was scolded like that, and his attention span was, sliced by a half.
Wow. This is so deep, and as a parent, it's a little bit, scary, kind of how really it's quite a number of things that contribute to the performance.
There are lots of things that tie into assessment.
Yeah. And now we come to realize that we actually spend a few months with our children. And I think we are supposed to influence our children's performance in a certain way. Anyway, let's first go over a break. I'll return to you on that. Yeah, viewer, let's take a break and we'll turn in a bit.
This is Church of Uganda Family TV, enriching lives.
Welcome back from that short break, and thank you for keeping it Church of Uganda Family TV. Thank you for keeping it the family hour. My beautiful name is Claire Bwente, your world's favorite host. We are still here with Mr. Tugume Masiko, and our topic this evening is understanding your child's report card. Quite important. And before we went off for a break, he was actually still sharing with us that it's quite a number of things that contribute to the performance of our children. And of course, before I left, I promised that I'm going to really ask him a question about the role of a parent in all this. We realize it's quite a number of things that contribute to the performance of our children. And as parents, I think this is our time for us to actually influence our children the positive way into this. What's the role of a parent in this?
Thank you, Claire. My role as a parent in the appearance of my children's report card is to ensure that, to begin with, I've taken them to school. 2, from home to ensure that they are prepared for school. Because their performance begins from the home environment. Do they have the scholastic materials they need? Have I met their needs at home? Have I provided with them the uniform, the books to write in, all that? But two, it is my role to give them emotional support. You see, my son, you're going to school, you're going to A level, or you're changing school, or you're going to senior 1, or whichever class that you're going to. I thank God that you're going to senior 2. Some people say senior 2 is the most stubborn class. So I pray you will not be stubborn. Kindly hold yourself as of value. Take time, concentrate on your studies. Okay. For them to have this kind of reassurance, it is my role to give them that kind of assurance. So they go to school knowing, yeah, Daddy believes in me that I can make it. It will encourage them. But also to know that I know what is there at school. I caution them ahead of time. You see, my young daughter, I thank God that you're developing breasts. But you see, developing breasts on your chest and you're in senior 3 does not mean that you're ready for marriage. You see, my young son, I thank God that you're so strong. But being so strong does not mean that you should beat your teachers. Use your strength to be involved in games, to be involved in co-curricular activities. So it is my role as a parent to speak that to them. Another thing is that it is my role to build a good rapport with their teachers. Okay?
Yeah.
With their teachers, so that in case of anything, I am able to reach out to their teachers, or even their teachers are able to reach out to me. But I'm very thankful for the teachers and the schools that we've had our children in, biological and those others. You know, because you have this kind of a rapport, a parent will be able to inform you, but I see your son over-loitering on the compound. I doubt they are concentrating. Or the school nurse will be able to reach out to you. Or your daughter yesterday was brought to the school bay and she was unwell. Okay? So you'll be able to get to them faster. Or because they know you and who you are and that you're concerned, there's a way teachers will be very considerate. Considerate not in a bad way, but considerate to let you know what is happening on your school.
Because they think you're responsible.
Another thing, parents, we need to participate in the lives and the activities of our children at school. It is visiting day. Go and participate. It is sports day. Be there. Cheer your son, cheer your daughter as she dances, as she does the drumming in those activities. The child knows that, yes, I'm at school, but I'm not abandoned. Okay? But it also gives them this kind of an assurance to grow their abilities in that regard. And if they know that it is academic day and my parents must come, they make sure they have their notes in the right place. They make sure they have their uniform ironed or whatever it is. They'll make sure they have themselves composed. Okay, so in a way, you may think it is short term, but if it transits from just because mommy is coming into a value that they hold so dear in their hearts, and they grow up with it. Okay, it builds them up, and you say that is the time you get also to find out from the teachers. If you have a very good rapport and it is an academic day, it is a visiting day, or those engagements, you get to them by the how is my daughter doing? By the how is my son doing? So they will get to you. I think he has backslidden in a way. I think he does not attend preps. He does not attempt his academic obligations with commitment. So as a parent, as you get to know that, you get it addressed within the period of the term. You are not waiting for the report. You see, clear assessment does not start with a report. The report card is actually the very end result. But for you to determine what appears on the report card, you determine it during the course of the term. Okay? But also, if he does not perform well, and you have been at school and this report card has come to you, you'll be able to tell, by the way, on visiting, or on this day I made a spot check at school, and your teacher told me that you dodge classes, or you didn't have maps in your geography book. So it will be easy for you as you interpret the report card as you see the score in geography. You'll be able to relate it to what the geography teacher told you. Okay, during the school term, he didn't have maps. He didn't make use of its atlas or something like that. So you will be able to interpret the report card vis-a-vis what the teacher mentioned, or the assessment that you made through the school, the course of the term. So you will not assess this student just as a failure because he got an F9 in geography. Does not make him a failure. It is because he didn't pay attention. But another thing, I'm also aware there are personal, student from the student perspective. There are aspects he paid attention and he didn't get. You'll be able to note some of those things from a child's young age, so that even when they are grown up, you know what they are capable of doing and maybe what they are not capable of doing, or if they are making future choices, maybe they are in O level and you have been consistent in your assessment from maybe their senior 1 to senior 3 and 4, and this child wants to do, for instance, literature in English, you'll be able to tell, but your reading culture has not been good. Were you able to handle? So you sit them down, you advise them. You are by that time influencing what their report card in A-level will look like. Okay, so Claire, anyway, the bottom line is that what happens on the report card, what me as a parent, what you as a parent receive or see on the report card is a product of several series of things. And some of these, if they can be addressed during the course of the school term, the better than waiting for just the report card. We also have these parents, okay, I paid fees, I've taken you to school, I'm waiting for the card. The time you come here and you have not excelled, you will see me.
That's quite absurd. That's really not nice. And I like actually what you mentioned as parents, that we should actually build a great relationship with the teachers of our children. But there are cases when actually the teachers tell what our children do at school, and we can't believe the teacher is telling you, by the way, your son is a little bit naughty, is a little bit stubborn here and there. You're like, that's not my son, because they don't show that at home. So really, I don't know.
Can you remember where I started from? This parent spends 75% of the year with your child. You have 25% of the time with your child. Even that 25% is divided into 2. And you remain with about 12% of the total time in a year. Why am I saying you're dividing it into 2? You're going to family TV, you're attending parties in the whole day, you're doing all these other things. But this teacher, actually of recent, there's a new parent, a new term in parenting. We call them secondary parents. Not only teachers, they're teachers, they're van drivers, they're cooks at school, they're house executives, what some people call maids. So they spend much more time with your child. They know a bit of your child that you do not know. True, you also know a bit of your child that they do not know. But coming back to what you just asked me, I think it is good to have an open mind. Oh, you're saying my child is naughty? So are you able to point out illustrations of how naughty he has been? Then they will tell you. You're saying he's stubborn, so what exactly happened? What do you mean? And ask with interest to know. Not to make this teacher feel like, you're saying my child is naughty, my child cannot be naughty. Ask with an interest to know. So what exactly happened? And they will tell you, you see, he stole somebody's stockings or atlas or dictionary, so we punished him. You see, your child or your son teases other people. You see, it is your daughter that makes other girls to stand on their beds, and she wants them to blow the barabs with their breath. So you'll be able to understand. See, these children, depending on the relationship that you have with them, there is this child that will come home and be an angel in the house because you're there. you do not have a relationship with them that they can ever come to you, Mommy, you see, I am going through challenges XYZ. They do not feel this free to open up with you. So they remain in a mask. They remain masked up. So when the teacher tells you they are real, what they really are, you put up this kind of a defense. No, my child cannot do that.
I've never seen him.
I have never seen him. You see, you not seeing him does not mean that he's incapable of doing it. No, your girl is misbehaving. My girl has this level of integrity. I know how we brought them up in a Christian environment. You can do that and still a child. So parents, let's approach this with an open mind. Once you are told of what your child is, interest yourself in finding out. If they are at school, surprise them with a surprise visit. It is a Sunday, it is an evening, depending on definitely on the school rules. There are schools that do not allow people on some of those days. But depending on the school rules, if you're allowed to do a sports check on a Sunday, go to there Sunday afternoon and say, call me so and so from this class and I want to meet them. Because they were not expecting you, and every time you see them on visiting day, they have ironed, they have their tie well done, they have their skirts, well done, they have their shoes well polished. Because this is a surprise visit, they were not expecting you. You'll get to know who they really are. You are at work, and it is a Wednesday afternoon, and they are in holiday. Surprise them. Ask for an off. It is 10 or 11 a.m. Show up at home. You will be able to tell what they are capable of doing when they are not in this mask of, now I'm going to speak to Mommy, I must have.
They are prepared for you.
They are prepared for you. And these kids are bright, regardless of their age. They are bright, they know how to.
Yeah, I know even some who write answers to the questions they expect their parents to ask at that time.
Sometimes be unpredictable. Be unpredictable.
Wow.
Show up when they do not expect you, whether at home or at school. You will get to know who they are. Or with the technology in place, some people have gone to using of cameras and things like that. You'll be able to have a hidden camera somewhere, be able to see. But also,
kids, they're going to.
Yes, I mean the parenting times have changed. The parenting times have changed, but also have trusted friends that you can trust. We belong to a marriage fellowship, Home Builders Fellowship, and our children. We have agreed amongst the couples in there. I think we are 5 couples. 5 couples. We have agreed amongst ourselves. My children can come to your place intentionally. I believe they are not copying notes from me. Intentionally, it is a holiday. We've sent them to you. Maybe we are going for a function somewhere or what. But our intention is for you to observe them in a way. Or your child has a birthday, or you have a Thanksgiving, or whatever it is. We intentionally send them to you. One, to socialize and know people in our circles and all that. But another reason is to study them. Because when they are with you, they will not behave like they are with me. There are certain things they will do extremely freely because you're not Mommy, you're not Daddy. So, and the way they will speak to you. So have an open mind. Like in that instance, have an open mind. Also devise means, do those spot checks and all that. But also listen. Listen to if the teacher is the one telling you, if it is your spouse telling you, but the way this, I doubt, the way this is happening. Have this kind of overthinking.
Wow, thank you very much, Caleb. And I really enjoy the show. Our parents this evening, I know they are really blessed to learn there's a few things here and there. But then I'm also wondering, in cases where I find at school, the performance of the kids is pinned on the notes board. So I'm wondering, how do the people who appear at the bottom, at the bottom of the list, doesn't that really affect their esteem in a way, their lives in a way? What's your take on that?
Yeah, thank you, Claire. One, I don't think, let's not look at the display as totally a negative perspective. There are those who will be discouraged too, but there are those who will be encouraged. But how come I'm always at the bottom of this table? I need to work hard. There are those who in themselves will be encouraged by that. And as parents, it's also our role to encourage them. Let's begin from that. I know most people already see that from the negative perspective. Let's all look at it from the positive perspective. Because the school, I would want to trust that the school has a reason partly why it is doing that. Let's encourage them. You see, you are always appearing last. But I know that my daughter, you can do better. I trust you, Last time you made it, and by the time you are promoted to this class, you excelled at math, you excelled at physics, you excelled at chemistry. So even when you're pinged there as the last person, I'm hopeful next time you make it better. So how can I help you make it better? Then they will tell you, but you see, I had challenge XYZ. There are those that will not speak out. That's how the other fellowship comes in. Your accountability partners, and you request them to speak to your child if you're unable. But 3, have this rapport with your child. Have this warm relationship with your child. That is vital. So what made you appear at the bottom? Do you think you had a challenge that disorganized you? Then someone will tell you, by the way, I did my best. Those ones encourage them. Then there are those who will tell you it's because they didn't draw the diagrams, it's because they didn't revise, it's because every other time the TV is on, they're watching soccer and all that. Caution them. You see, you can't keep at the bottom of the ladder everywhere in life. You have got to excel. You are a lady, you're going to grow up. You need the grades in your life. You see, if you're going to be promoted to the next class, you need those who need encouragement, encourage them. But these ones who need to be challenged, challenge them. Okay? Challenge them. You have failed this. I expect you to perform better. Will you pledge that you will do better? Yes, I do. Okay, what specific things are you going to do to pass this subject that you failed? Okay, if it is English, maybe I intend to read more, maybe comprehension stories. I intend to do XYZ. I intend to have a timetable for revision. On my timetable, I intend to prioritize this subject that led where I failed. I intend to schedule it thrice on my timetable where each other subject is scheduled twice. Okay, have practical ways of encouraging this child. Then there are those that will be totally demotivated. Now me, I have failed. What will I do? Speak to them. Encourage them that they can do better. But also speak that truth to them. Then something else that we could do as parents, even to that child that is appearing at the bottom of the table, find out from the teachers. Do you think you have any valuable advice that you need to pass on to me? That's what I said earlier. If you have this kind of a rapport with a teacher, the teachers will be able to tell you, because your child does not attend class, it's because of XYZ. It's because she's not concentrating, it's because she's not serious, or it's because she was sickly. There are sometimes aspects that are beyond Alana's making. Alana may have put in their very best. They have. When we were in secondary school, we used to talk about these people that used to put their feet in the basin when they are revising. When they are revising. So if you have this good rapport with both the learner and the instructor, you'll be able to get good feedback. And that's my take on
wow, thank you. Thank you very much.
So it has its own positives, it has its own negatives. But the way as a parent, the way I handle it will either encourage the learner or will discourage the learner.
Oh, it goes back to us as parents. Wow, I know our time is really fast spent, and I'm still really interested in this talk. There are cases where you mentioned that we should actually speak the truth to our children. And now the parents are the teachers are co-parents or secondary parents, like you mentioned. Many other times they speak words to our children, especially when they perform badly. Why don't you change? You're ever performing like this. And this kills actually the children really, it kills them completely. Now, what's your advice to the co-parents or the secondary parents?
One, I really appreciate the work that the secondary parents do. They do a lot of work, but I would also want to request them to realize that they can communicate their disappointment to the learner in a more positive way. Okay? They can still communicate their disappointment in a truthful manner. For instance, this child has not performed well in my subject, and I want to caution them. Instead of saying, "You fool, why have you failed?" I could put it in another way. Dear Job, I am not very pleased with your scores. What could have happened? Dear Faith, or Faith, may I kindly know why you think you were unable to score a mark better than this? There's a way you can still put it in a way not demonizing this child. But also, as parents, let me bring it in this perspective. The way we build the self-esteem of our children. If it is this child who knows that, yes, I have failed, and it was out of my carelessness, he will take that in a way not to be so much offended, but to be cautioned, especially if he's asked, "So Faith, why do you think you didn't you performed less than your expectation?" So as parents, it also gets, I'm sorry, I'm heaping a lot of responsibility on parents.
And actually,
because this child will be told this thing, "You fool, why have you failed?" But the child will know in his heart that, you see, me failing English and English paper and getting the lowest score in class does not make me a fool. I may have scored the lowest score in English, but I did well in technical drawing. So however much I do not have to be a failure in one paper, but I also know where my strength lie. And as secondary parents, we are calling teachers and other caregivers, we need to be cognizant of that fact, not to just demonize a learner to make them feel so disappointed and dejected. We need to speak to them in a manner that cautions them, but also in a manner that makes them realize what wrong they have done and propose a way forward. Now that you have performed, you have scored less than your expectation and my expectation as your instructor, I request that as you go for the holidays, you have a schedule and you have more input in this subject. Now, a parent, if you're told that the teacher or the secondary parent was demonizing me as your son, you should have the interest in knowing, so where did it come from? Is it because the teacher has cautioned my son or the learner several times and there is no change? Is it because of the teacher's own bad conduct? Is it because of the frustration of the teacher? I've told you I've done some teaching before, and then these students really know that you're A-class students, and like now the national exams that you've just done, there are those schools that you go to and they will tell you, "I know so and so will score will make a very good score," and them not meeting expectations as an instructor, you feel disappointed, definitely. Okay, but there's a way I would want us to communicate this to the learners that does not, put them down. It can be cautionary, but at the same time encouraging them next time to do better.
Wow. Well, thank you very much, Caleb. And of course, we have to know that Everyone has their strength and everyone has their weakness. It could be math not going well, but then English, or maybe she's disciplined, or maybe she's talented. So I think as parents and as teachers at large, we should also understand that. But our time is really, really fast spent. Would you please give us your parting shots and we close the show?
Thank you so much, Claire, and our viewers. Understanding my child's or understanding the learner's academic report is more than just the marks that I see on paper. It is something that starts at home, it grows on the journey to school, and it is partially displayed on that report card. The way we interpret it can encourage or discourage this learner. The way we interpret this academic report can make us as parents gain more interest in encouraging the learners to do better next time. Okay, so I would really want us to take the academic report as a partial revelation of my child's ability. It is not exhaustive. On that report, you will not see conduct. You will not see levels of integrity being examined. You will not see levels of self-confidence being examined. You will not see social etiquette, because we are looking at these 10 subjects or 15. Okay, so have a mechanism of assessing your learners or your child's performance beyond just academic report. I thank you.
Thank you very much. This was really a very educative and great show. And thank you, dear viewer, for loving Church of Uganda Family TV. Thank you for loving this show. Thank you for loving me, your favorite host. I appreciate you from the deepest part of my heart. I'll see you again next Friday, same time, same place. It is a very good night. God bless you. Cheers.